All right, everybody. Welcome to this month's West Side Meetup, hosted by WNN Properties. At least in Hawaii, we are 1 minute over 6 o'clock. And I just want to honor everybody's time and get our meetup going. We believe time is your greatest asset. And we just want to say thank you to you folks for choosing to spend your time here with us. So thank you guys for being here. Without you folks, there would be no meetup. So thank you guys for being here. Um, for our friends that are attending for the first time or that we haven't met in person yet or on Zoom, my name is Brandon Rabe. I'm a full-time active real estate investor and a mentor and advisor with WNN Properties and the co-host of this meetup with my other co-host there too. So before we jump into our conversation and our meetup, I do want to go over a couple housekeeping items just to make sure we're all on the same page and then share some general announcements. So number one, just know that this meetup is going to be recorded in case you want to come back and watch, hear to what our guest said, or if you want to share it with a friend, you can send them that recording. So this meetup, just know it's going to be recorded. And then second, I just want to ask that everybody please keep your microphones on mute. That way we just minimize distractions for our guest and the conversation, and then everybody else that's in attendance to the meetup. Third, if you guys do have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat. We're going to have a Q&A portion after our conversation. So just, if it seems like we don't see it, don't worry, we do. We're just going to wait till the end or later on in order to get to the questions. Number four, stick around for after our conversation because we're going to be doing some networking and jump into some breakout rooms for a short bit just to get to know each other and network and build our network. And then last thing is for us, if you've been here on Westside Meetup before, or if this is your first time, I want to say that while there's no fee or charge to be here on this meetup, we do ask that you pay a fee, which comes in the form of sharing the value that you get from the meetup. So if in our conversation you laugh or you learn something new or you shift in a perspective or you meet somebody here that you want to partner with, whatever value you get out, if you get value, I'm going to ask that you take a screenshot or take a quick recording and share it to your social medias. Later on, we'll share our social medias. That way we can get connected there. And I just ask that you tag us so that we can spread the word and let more people know about Westside Meetup here. All right. So those are the couple things I wanted to go over as far as housekeeping goes. I also wanted to mention if you're not already on our or in our Facebook group, it's called Westside Meetup. It's on Facebook. I'm going to post a link in the chat where there's where we post our replays and also other announcements. And then you can network with other folks that are not here on the call. I think there's like 400 or 200 people or something in the Facebook group. So anyway, I'm going to drop it in the chat. You guys can click the link and then get connected with us there. And also, if you want the automatic reminders of this event and other events that we put on, whether virtual or in person on Oahu, you can hop onto our email list. To do that, just send us a really short email saying, hey, my name is so-and-so. I want to get added to your email list. Please let me know or add me there. And then we'll just add you right to the list and then you can get the updates. All right. And then lastly, looks like at the moment we've got 25 people. And in spite of us going into those breakout rooms at the end, chances are you're not going to be able to meet everybody here. So this last link that I'm posting is just a really quick roster where if you want to connect with even more folks, go ahead and fill out that roster, plug in your name, what you currently need, and then what your strength is or what you have to offer, because we just want to grow the community and provide value to each other. So if you do choose to fill out that roster, just know that only the folks that fill out that roster are going to have access to the information on that roster. So we're not going to spam or anything. It's just purely for networking. All right. So go ahead, check out those things. Oh, and then the last thing I just wanted to bring up, I was going to save it to the end, but I kind of just thought about it. Next week, Wednesday, we're having an out-of-state training within WNN on April 3rd. That's going to be 3 p.m. Hawaii time, 6 p.m. Pacific. We're going for 3 hours on the fundamentals of out-of-state investing. Okay, I think that was it. Anyway, in case you missed it in the very beginning, my name is Brandon Rabe. I'm a full-time active real estate investor. I actively invest out in the Midwest. I'm also an advisor and facilitator within WNN Properties. which we are a mentorship and consulting firm, just helping folks get started, whether it's buying their first or next rental property in the buy and hold strategy. And tonight, we have the pleasure of speaking with another active investor. And before I get to that, I'm going to bring on my co-host for tonight, Laura Renteria. So, hey, Laura.
Hi, Brandon. Hi, guys. Thank you all for coming on. Like you mentioned, my name is Renteria, and I'm currently active duty Army stationed out here in Hawaii, but I am also an out-of-state real estate investor out in Kansas City, and I'm a mentee with WNN Properties. And so, like you mentioned, we do have our friend here today joining us, Joice. We're going to be asking her a few questions, and she is a Maui-based investor, and she's been with WNN since last year. So without further ado, hi, Joice.
Hi, everybody. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joice. I've been with WNN for a year now, but I have been investing here in Maui since 2016. So a little bit more about my story. Got my first spark in real estate after I lived with entire family of my in-laws, my mother, my father, my sister, the whole kids. You know, we lived in one house all together. So I wanted my own space. I was making good money. I wanted to buy my house, and not just any house, one in Lahaina where my family could own a piece of paradise forever. So I got my financial house in order in 2015 with 101 Financial. I bought the neighbor's house the next year as a foreclosure at the courthouse auction for $476,000. I rented out the detached studio. I dropped the tiny house, and I cash cowed that property until this day. It wasn't until 5 years later that I saved up enough money to buy a second home in Lahaina. I was tapped out on funds, and I couldn't wait another 5 more years to buy conventional. So as I was doing my research how to buy more real estate, I watched videos, listened to Bear Pockets, read books, and I came across WNN later that year. So I jumped on one of their Zoom calls just like this. And in one of the breakout sessions, it was with Gilbert. It was about your goals. At the end of the year, what were you looking forward to in 2023? And that just really fueled my desire to get into 2023 with intention. So I set out to invest out of state. I wanted to buy more homes in Maui, attend every single meetup, conference, network, and learn. So that January, I signed up for Brandon's 6-week boot camp. And immediately right after that, I locked up a Kansas City property. I locked up another house in Lahaina. I co-hosted a first meetup with Leah right here in Lahaina, you know, that featured Brandon. I got Gilbert to fly over and Rod, and I had other Maui investors featured there, like Zasha, Treva, Karen, and Justo. That June, I closed on the 2 properties, with the Lahaina one almost 100% financed by a private money lender. And I never thought that that was ever possible. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I trusted the process, and it was time to put into practice everything that I had learned. So immediately after that, I went into the rehab the next month. Didn't expect it to go the way it did, but I went through hell with that contractor. It was a learning lesson for sure. I let him go the first week, and it got ugly really, really fast. There were threats of suing, finding my PML for the remainder of the money, finding everything that was in my name. I fell into a really depressed state, lost sleep, I lost money, I wanted to give up, but I couldn't go backwards. My other half, Daryl, he wouldn't let me. He was there by my side through it all. He saw me through my worst, and brought me back to my best self. It still stings to this day, but you know, we've learned to overcome that small, big hurdle. And then the August fire happened. So life stopped. It's still surreal just remembering, you know, my entire hometown engulfed in flames, an entire community just running for their lives. I'm so grateful that my family and I can still talk about it to this day. But I lost my 3 homes, my childhood home, and all of my relatives' homes. They all lived in the same neighborhood. So it's more than just the homes. It's the memories and the pain of what the future of Lahaina holds. We have to navigate through this new norm of living in Lahaina while it's still in ashes, but we're continuing to heal. But this event also fueled my passion even more to leverage real estate to rebuild my family's homes. The following week after the fire, I went back to work. I started the rehab in my first KC house, and I went back to offering more properties while juggling other things like home insurance claims, moving from hotel to hotel for temporary housing, and ensuring my family's well-being also. October, I closed on 2 more properties. I signed the papers while I was at a WealthCon event in Vegas, and I signed the papers while I was at the KCMO trip as well. So I got another offer accepted in December, and I hit 2024 full force. I closed on a 4th property on Valentine's Day, completed 2 rehabs, and this month alone, I've locked up 3 more properties in Kansas City and 1 more on Maui. And I'll have completed 2 more rehabs to go out on rental. So there's a lot to be proud of, but I never lost sight of my why. Maui's still healing, my family's still healing, and real estate gave me hope. This network has become my family, my friends, my mentors. The line of fire just sparked my why to a whole different level, and I want my family to come back home, back in our neighborhood and back to Lahaina. So you're all in this Zoom because you're looking for value in real estate. It's not easy. Nothing is ever easy, but if you make your why so big, you'll bulldoze right through all your obstacles and pave your own path. So thank you for having me.
Wow, that was a lot. Thank you, Joyce. And so just to kind of bring it back a little bit, I know you mentioned that in the beginning, your reasoning for starting your real estate investing journey simply came off out of wanting a space of your own, right?
Hmm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, you had a DADU, a detached dwelling unit, you said that you rented
Yep.
out. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
And then from there, you fast forward to joining WNN. You got 4 properties under contract, and then you have 3 more now.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you, how did you now through that with the Lahaina fires and stuff? What helped you through that moment? You think was like really what was your why at that moment that helped you push forward?
I couldn't dwell on what was happening. It was definitely out of my control already. It's happened. And the most important thing for me then was spending time with my family to help them heal and, to cherish the moments that we did, that we still had together. But it was, us moving from one location to another, and we were all spread out. We're all in different parts of the island now. And again, real estate is just another vehicle where I can build myself towards financial freedom and then utilize that to come back home, get all my families settled in and go back to what we were used to having. So it really sparked it, where I didn't have any more limiting beliefs. It was just, you know what, I am going to go and I'm going to trust the process. I've learned enough. I got enough mentors to lean on. And then I'm really doing it for my family. At the end of the day, it's not about how many doors that I have. It's at the end what that's going to bring me closer towards what I really need. It's the homes and it's for the family at the end of the day.
Right. Totally. And I like how you said that. You said that you didn't want to dwell in that, right? And I feel like sometimes when things happen to us, we can easily victimize ourselves in a way. And in life we always have a choice, right? That choice of feeling a victim and staying put and not move forward, or the choice of pushing forward to continue moving forward. Right. And it kind of reminds me of like, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but it's like a cycle, right? And it's like hard times create strong people create good times create weak people, and then weak people create hard times. And this is more looking at a macro. So from that cycle, where do you think we are at? You think we're at weak people create hard times? Probably, right? So with that being said, the future, it's gonna get some hard times. And for you, Joyce, and right in your life, you got that hard time and you were able to push forward. But in all, like you said, you always have a choice, and you made that choice to move forward and to continue on. And I want to congratulate you for that, because that is amazing and it's truly inspirational. And I see you on social media, and that's what made me reach out to you, right? Because you're very open about it. You're vulnerable on social media, and I think that's what we all like to see, the truth of things. That's not always pretty, and it doesn't always look a certain way. Another thing too is pivoting, right? We always hear we got to learn when to pivot. And in business and in life and in real estate, there are moments that come unexpectedly, right? Where we have to pivot, and we thought it was going to look a certain way, but then it ended up not looking that way. So we have to be flexible with the times. And so for you, Joyce, um, what do you think has been the most like influential factor in your real estate journey up to this point?
I think it's just a networking piece. There's a lot that, you know, one of the assignments, and I always refer back to this. I went back, actually, February is one of the assignments with Brandon was get yourself on social media. I was against it because I wanted my life to be private. But it was one of those things that I know I had to get outside my comfort zone. And now it's like, okay, I want to show people what it is that obviously Lahaina is going through, but at the same time, go through that adversity that you can make it. And even before this whole thing, you're in Hawaii. Hawaii is such an expensive market that a lot of people don't think they can do it. But through adversity, through these things that is out of your control, it's possible. You can make it. And for people that live here, right in my town too, that's why I have it there on social media, is because I want to show the story. And I also want my children to be able to see it, you know, and the progression of how I've come to where I'm at today. It's not easy. It's not like it's happened overnight. It took time. It took a lot of time, and it took a lot of pushing through all the hard work to get where I am.
Right.
So social media for sure, and then also the network that I have. No matter what meetup or wherever there is a meetup or an opportunity to network with people, I'm there. You know, if you or if somebody's gonna be flying over, I'm there, because there's just so much value in that, and you can't you can't can't read that in a book. You can't get that in a YouTube video or an online class. That one-on-one interaction you have with people is different. That's where I found my private money lender. He lent almost 100% of that deal. So all these meetups that I've gotten to, I met Robin over at a Bigger Pockets conference, right? So it's things like that. Every single real estate event you have, be open, talk to those people, because they're all there for the same reason. It's to network, to get into real estate, and to get to that next level.
Exactly. And like you mentioned, you cannot get that in a book. It's like something about that face-to-face interaction, the real life kind of in the moment communication with people, 100% for sure. And as you were saying that, it sounds like it reminded me of the 80-20 rule. Is anybody familiar with the 80-20 rule? Maybe, yeah, Brandon, yeah. So what's the 80-20 rule, Brandon?
So 80-20 rule, it's a ratio. I mean, I don't know how far back or how deep you want me to get into it, but basically 18th century economist, I believe, he had made an observation that 20% of the crops, I believe, provided for 80% of what people were consuming. So with that ratio, the 80-20, we can see that in other areas of life. So like 20% of the input creates 80% of the output. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yes, exactly. And as Joyce was speaking about, you know, like the mental side of it, I like to think of real estate as that. So when I apply the 80-20 rule to real estate, it's like you can almost see that 80% of it is the mindset that you have, right? And then 20% is the real estate technicalities. But it's like if you don't have that perseverance or the the getting rid of as many limiting beliefs as you can, right? Then you really knowing what to do in real estate is not really going to matter, right? Because for me, I would rather not know how, but have that vision in mind than know how but not have any vision. Because right now there's so much information. Everyone knows how to lose weight, right? But if you don't have that mentality of sticking with the diet, then the how does not matter. So it kind of reminds me of that, like you're speaking, Joice, kind of applying the 80-20 rule in that sense. And so now kind of going back to your investments right now. So let me know what's going on right now, because I see you post all the time, like, I got one under contract, got rehab. I was like, girl, I lose count. So what do you got going on right now?
Right now, let's see. I'm working on all of the financing for the properties, but there's three that I got locked up in Kansas City. One which is a duplex. That I'm pretty excited on because it's new. The other two are just single families. And then I also have one on Maui that I'm securing for my parents. So that's again, that's a special deal for me because all my family has moved over to a different side of the island. This house is going to be something for them in the meantime while we're waiting to get Lahaina cleared up. So that one is a special one to me, but I'm still focusing most of my efforts on, just collecting all these, little blue houses or red houses or whatever they are in Monopoly, right? So just getting that all in line. That's kind of everything that I'm working on. Stuff outside of that is obviously the things that I need to deal with on the houses here with the insurance, with debris cleanup, dealing with the counties, permitting, blueprints, just taking all of that a little bit at a time. And then I got my W-2 job that I'm juggling also, but
Wow, that is amazing. Joice, I don't know how you do it. Give me your recipe. After this, we need to talk. No, that is awesome. And so for you, like you mentioned, you're getting those little greenhouses right now. So what are you aiming for the end of the year? Where do you see yourself December 2024?
20 doors is what I have planned for this year.
20 doors. Oh my goodness. I love it. Shooting for the stars. Okay, and then from there, where do you think you're kind of moving with that?
I'm comfortable in the single family space, but I've been asked that a few times, and I want to start looking into multifamily, and moving out of Kansas City and looking at different markets. But I want to get really, really good at what I'm doing first, and in the market that I'm in, because now I'm comfortable. I have a team there, and I have a system in place. But I want to quit my job at some point. I told Gil this back in 2022 that in 23 I want to quit my job, but I'm still leveraging my W-2 job for all this, and it's just security for me at this point until I can get enough cash flow and then focus on it real full time.
Awesome. Wow, that is amazing. Okay, Joice, is there anything else that you'd like to share for the community, or maybe where we can reach you?
I got my social media. It's Rejoice in real estate, so I do update that pretty frequent, and it's more for obviously for me to document everything that I am doing, because even going through this process, it's like, oh man, I really did a lot in the last year. It's only been 2023 that I've taken the class with Brandon Rabe, and everything else that had happened in the middle. It's just it's a lot that happened, but it's also a lot that I should be proud of. Like I don't step back enough to appreciate the things that I've overcome, and that what I'm doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think taking time sometimes to celebrate even those little wins matter, right? Sometimes I know I do this. I get so caught up in the future and what the future would look like that I'm not appreciative for the present, or I'm in the present. So for sure, that's always important. And I'm gonna go ahead and give it over to you, Brandon, because it looks like we have some questions.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. And first of all, I want to say before we get to the questions, yeah, Joyce, I remember that post, that very first one. And I I've never had the privilege of hearing your journey like as much as you've shared tonight. And I just want to say, like, from who you were from the beginning of January to here, totally different person in a good way, and super proud. So good on you for that.
Thanks, Brandon.
Absolutely. Um, I was gonna ask a question, but we can jump into some of the questions I see in the chat first. The first one I see is from Liz, asking about what you currently do for work, and then maybe you can talk about how you're able to leverage what you do for work into what you do with real estate.
Yeah, sure. I'm an engineering manager at a resort at the West Nanea over here. And that was another thing too, just coming out of the fire. It was the hardest thing to go back to work. When your entire town is homeless and you had tourism coming back. So that was hard. I did debate after the fire whether or not I wanted to go back into tourism, but I kind of keep in my own little bubble. I do my work. We manage 26 engineers in the department, and we basically take care of the resort, the mechanical equipment, the villas, all of the appliances, kitchens. So just the entire resort. We take care of the building maintenance of it.
Yeah. Just curious, like going back to work, I mean, what was your mindset like, knowing that your hometown is not there? You mentioned a couple of struggles going back, like what helped you just keep pushing forward, go back to work and still maintain the real estate?
We were closed for about a month. I think we opened in October. So we were closed in August and September. So about a month and a half we were closed. And the really nice thing that the resort did was they opened up their doors to first responders, to firefighters, to the police department, and they were all housed in the hotels along with employees that were displaced. So I lived in the resort for about 2, 3 weeks. They really took care of us at that time. They fed everybody. Our corporate offices. They did give out vouchers for Island Grocery, things like that to help us out. They were doing mental wellness checks. They did everything right to take care of their employees, and that was important for me because the hotel wasn't open yet, and the resort was taking care of its employees, and it truly is a family. So getting past that mindset of we're here serving tourists while our entire town is out there. It was tough to get past, but I was working with my community. And at the same time too, jobs were very limited after the fire. It was either you worked in resorts or you didn't. And Lahaina they kept all their employees during the fire. The other parts of Maui, they furloughed associates, they furloughed their employees. So we were really fortunate to have been in that. And I think that's what's just kept me going to stay. And my loyalty has been with it regardless, because we do have owners that are loyal and they truly do care. They donate to the associates, and they become like family.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, it sounds like you were able to get the support. Kind of like what you mentioned earlier, network, how important it is to have that network, a community to fall back on. So, wow. Okay. Um, Kind of shifting gears to real estate, like Alan asked, how did you select your out of state market to invest?
Brandon Rabe, WNN. I didn't know what market I wanted to get into. I had no idea where to go because I knew nobody. And again, that's the reason why I jumped in on one of those Zoom calls, because it was an out of state investing Zoom call. And after that 2023 goal setting session, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stick with people who know the market, and this is all locals here in Hawaii that are investing in a market that they're familiar with. So that's why I went to Kansas City.
Cool. Yeah, and then just to add on to what Joyce has said, you know, to be honest, you can make money in any market. Just depends on the strategy that you're planning to implement and whether or not that market supports your strategy. And what just is kind of icing on the cake is when you know people that you trust in the market, that can just make things go much more smoother and faster. So um, whether it's Joyce or I see a couple other people in WNN, Kansas City just makes sense only because there's the boots on the ground already established. So something to consider if you are looking at out of state investing, who are the boots on the ground? Who are the team members there? And do you have a pre-existing relationship, or can you build a relationship to build that trust? Because as out of state investors, it's really key that you got people that you trust on the ground. Okay. Let's see. I think that's all the questions I see in the chat. Before I wrap up Q&A section, I just want to give last opportunity. If anybody does have a question, drop it in the chat or just raise your hand and then you can ask your question directly to Joyce. I'll give you guys like 30 seconds, I guess, to do that. But I do have a question for Joyce right after Abigail. So, Abby, go ahead with your question.
Hi, Joyce.
Abigail.
Congrats on all your properties and your progress so far. You are amazing. I'm so happy that you persevered through what you've been through. My question to you is the home that you got in Maui that was 100% PML funded, how did it look like paying them back after the fire?
That's actually a great question. I didn't know what it was going to be like, honestly. But when you are going through a rehab, and my investor is pretty seasoned, so he kind of knows the process already of putting the note together, the mortgage to get together, and what kind of insurance that you need. So I had a builder's risk on this property. That builder's risk covered the entire mortgage amount. So for him, that was worthwhile for him to make sure that it was, because in case if something like this happens, you never really know. But it was here's the interesting thing too, is for me, because it was an insurance policy that covered $550,000 of that mortgage, my premium on that was about $2,500. And I was paying it monthly. I had that insurance coverage for about 1 month, probably paid like $500-$600 into it. So there is a silver lining to some of these things, and I've learned to appreciate insurance way more, and same with Kansas City too. All of your insurance, whether it's sewer, whether it's whatever the insurance types are that you need to get for your properties, I have a better appreciation for that. You're not just wanting the cheapest insurance anymore. You got to make sure that you're fully covered in everything that you're doing. So they basically got paid out for the entire balance of the mortgage, and I basically just own the land outright now, and I don't have a mortgage payment that I have to pay into.
Yeah, definitely having insurance is key. Never know when anything can happen. So, yeah.
Thank you, Joyce.
Cool. Thank you, Abigail, as well for the question. So yeah, if nobody has any other questions, then before we transition to the second portion of our call, which is going to be the networking, going on into breakout rooms and so forth. The question that I wanted to ask you, Joyce, earlier, as you were speaking with Laura, was you mentioned that your husband, Daryl, he was there like by your side, encouraging you and motivating you and so forth. I'm just curious, what are some of the things that stood out that you could share with us that he was sharing with you, that if somebody is in that position where, I feel like giving up or this seems hopeless, I don't know if I'm going to make it in real estate. Could you share something that helped you from Daryl that might help somebody else here on the call?
Good question. He was my punching bag during a lot of it. And I think that's part of the partnership, is to be able to take that and say, we're gonna be fine, we're gonna be okay. and we went through the fire and everything together, right? So um he was just always there, no matter what it was that I was going through. He was there to listen, because I think that we, in our minds, we're always right no matter what it is that we say, right? And they're always wrong. So if even if they oppose us or agree with us, it's they're always wrong. But he was always very he's resilient. He took a lot of it, and no matter what, he never left my side. So I think that's important. And so now he's really jumped on board with the whole thing with real estate. You know, he's doing my videos, he's got this YouTube thing going on, and we both go to all these meetups. And he's never been um he's never been as loud as I am or as talkative as I am either, but he's really gotten out of his comfort zone talking to people, even if it's just being there to listen. So I think that's the biggest thing, is being staying there by my side and not running away, no matter how harsh I was on him. But you know, I never say it enough that I do appreciate everything that he does for me and the family.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And Daryl, this is recorded, so you can come back and listen to Joice in the future.
He's right here.
Oh, all right. Right on. Okay. Well, thank you for answering that question, Joice. Is there anything else that maybe me or Laura didn't ask you that you wanted to share with the community before we transition into the next portion of our call?
I mean, I sat in the same room as you guys before too, but if you're ever having any doubts about you know, this out of state investing thing, just look at everybody that's doing it, and it's it works. You can do it, and you have a whole network and a whole team of people who are also doing it that can help you along the way.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much, Joice, for coming on, being open with us, sharing your story, your setbacks, and how you've overcome it. I was kind of just checking the chat briefly, and very inspiring story. So thank you for coming on. If you guys want to connect with Joice, I dropped her Instagram in the chat, and I'll drop it again right now, along with me and Laura, in case you are not already connected with us. But yeah, go and give Joice a follow. Send her some encouraging words. Take a screenshot. Tag her in a story. Um, let people know more about Joice's rejoiceful, reemergent story. So go ahead and do that. I also wanted to remind everybody too that the roster is still open. So we're right about to jump into breakout rooms, and there's only going to be like 4 or 5 people in that, while there are 30 something people here, 32 people here. So yeah, you won't be able to meet everybody. And one way to do that is just by filling out that roster, letting folks know who you are, what it is you're needing help support with, and then what you can also give to the community. So go ahead and check that out. That'll conclude this specific portion of the call with our conversation with Joice. So again, thank you, Joice. And now we're going to switch gears. So now we're going to jump into some networking. And what that'll look like next is Gil's going to break us out into some breakout rooms. And there's going to be 4 or 5 of us in there. And we'll do that for like another 15, 20 minutes or so. And in those breakout rooms, my request is that we share just 3 things: our names, what we do in real estate, and then being that it's the end of the quarter, what's a recent win? What's the biggest win that you got for Q1 of 2024? So just those 3 things. If you got time afterwards in your group, go ahead and discuss amongst yourself, and then we'll just come back together, and then Laura and I will wrap up the call here. So without further ado, I think we are good, Gilbert. So awesome. So yeah, I'll see you guys in about 15, 20 minutes. As always, we get cut off in the middle of a conversation when we're in these breakout rooms. So where's Ravi? Ravi, I'll get back to you after. Okay, so hope you guys had some great conversation. Sounds like Gil got some of that out of you folks. And before we wrap things up, we usually like to kind of hold this space for just any nuggets that were dropped in your breakout rooms or anything that anybody wants to share. So with that being said, does anybody have like one nugget that they took away from their group that they feel the rest of the community will benefit from? You need to unmute or raise your hand. Was it not a good breakout room? Or did you guys talk about it? I guess you guys talked about it before I came in. If that's the case, that's totally fine. I do want to acknowledge a couple people in my group at least. So I had Abby, Robin, Ravi, Chris, Gretchen. That's everybody, right? And me. Anyway, we had a great conversation just around like private money lending. I know for active investors, that's a pretty hot topic. And just getting to hear people's wins, you know. I think for a win, no matter how big or small, if you can't figure out what a win is for you, just take a look back at the last month or the last week or the last day. What's something different that you did in that time frame that had you not had a community, had you not had the resources or the education, but you took it, that could be a win. Because it's something that you would not have done on your own otherwise. I just want to encourage you guys with that. Anybody have any needs, leads, or good deeds they want to share with the greater community?
I'd like to just welcome Frank and Brandon. Brandon J there of United Construction. This is their first West Side meetup.
Hey, right on. Welcome, Frank and Brandon. And for that matter, Gretchen as well. She hopped on because somebody invited her. So if you're still here and you invited Gretchen, thank you for growing the community. Okay. So last call, needs, leads, or good deeds. Anybody have anything to share?
Gilbert?
Yeah, everybody. Blaze is always raising private money, and he's gonna ask right after me, so I must do that. And same here. I'm always raising private money, so we might as well do it. Right, Blaze?
I had a question actually for Blaze. He was mentioning something about the 30,000 limit for rehab, and since I'm new, I don't know anything about that.
Sorry, can you can you expand on your question? We had a lot of conversations on that one.
Yeah, you said you tried to make the rehab under 30,000, cost under 30,000, something about the permitting.
Oh, so general repair rehab for Oahu, this is Honolulu County specifically. There is a 30,000 cap of general repair permitting that you can qualify for. But the problem is Hawaii is very expensive. So if you're fixing up a lot of the exterior and interior, that's well over 30,000, right? So there's ways around, I guess, rehab repairs if you can get underneath that limit. So if you're doing more of a lipstick finish, or you can justify saying you are only doing a lipstick finish, you can get underneath that 30,000 limit from doing a full permitting process. The full permitting process takes about 1 year in Honolulu County.
Okay,
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So if you don't have the full permitting process, you don't need the permit?
You need to apply for a general repair rehab permit. But
Okay,
it's an easier process. It takes a lot less time to get it
Okay.
issued. Because you can apply for something, but you need to get it issued before you can sell, right? Issued and
Okay.
closed.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. Okay.
Okay, Jeff.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, Blaze, for that. Okay, last call. Anybody else need, lead, or good deed?
I just want to say thank you all for coming on the Zoom. I hope you guys got some good networking going on in the small groups. And yeah, and if you did get some value out of it, tell your friends or whoever is interested in real estate investing so we can grow the community and bring more brains together.
Love it. Good stuff. Thank you, Laura. Well, if nobody else, on that note, the only last announcements I have is just reminding you folks, if you're brand new to real estate or you want to learn about out-of-state investing, WNN is holding an event next week, Wednesday on Zoom. The link is in the chat. Cash Flow Blitz. We're going for 3 hours, fundamentals of out-of-state investing. So go ahead and check that link out, and you can get more information there. And also within WNN, because we focus out in Kansas City, we actually take trips multiple times per year. And I know Joice had mentioned it as well, her going out to see her properties and being on the trip and signing documents on the trip. So I know there's a couple people here on this call as well that have been on that trip. And if you are really quick, could you raise your hand who's been to Kansas City with WNN? So I'm confident in saying that with those folks, they got a ton of value going on the trip just by learning about the market, meeting the team, and so forth. So even though you're not part of WNN, just know that if you do want to go on the trip, reach out to me, Shauna Kamaka, or Gilbert Coloma. We can get you more information about that trip and walk you through what to expect if you were to attend. So yeah, with all that being said, my name is Brandon Rabe here with Laura Renteria. And thank you, Joice, again for hopping on to Westside Meetup. This was this edition, a March edition of Westside Meetup. So hope you guys had a ton of value. Go ahead and spread the word, share it with your friends and family, and we'll see you next month on the last Wednesday in April. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you, Gil,
Thank
for
you.
setting up those breakout rooms.
Thanks.
Bye.